Hey everybody, how's it going? It's your boy, Huge Fan Man, back at it again with another video. Anyway, um, I just wanted to show off a little thing I made, a bubble shield from Star Wars. The so mechanically it works pretty well at the moment, but it's not perfect mechanically, and just to the extent that I'm not gonna the whole focus of this was just to focus on the sound implementation um, versus anything else. And so you'll notice the effects when I show it off are still they're only the effects that are necessary or what I've put in, and slightly more on the color of it. But then again, that arguably is also necessary that where I put work into that. And what was the other thing? And programming wise, there's still some things that could be maybe changed and some bugs that could be worked out, but all the audio implementation is in, and that's the whole goal of this, and that's all I cared about. And so, I'm done with it. I'm gonna show it off because there's other things I want to do. So yeah, so here it is, Star Wars Bubble Shield. We've got the inner loop. Got when people enter and leave. So you can hear that. I built this little blueprint here that just shoots some laser bullets down this direction, so we could just throw this down here. And so there it is. That's how shields work. Let me get rid of that print statement. But yeah, so yeah, I'll bring it over here. So basically, I just did the little functionality, throw it on the ground. You can see we're inside the bubble shield. Did a little mat for that. Pulled from the once again, old SW mod work that was never finished, and so I kind of, finished in quotation marks the bubble shield in my own time, and just for the sake of showing it off and portfolio work, etc., etc. Because you do like anything from 40 to 80% of the work on the mod, but it never gets finished, and so I've kind of just been, as you guys have seen, just been doing the last 20% or so of a lot of stuff just to finally get it in a state where it's at least displayable, right, to people. And so I can also just like, so I'm using the F key, by the way, to set it down and to remove it. So I could just set this down again, and then I can remove it again. So anyway. You see it gets red closer it is to breaking. It gets really red, and it breaks. You can see I made a few lasers, the blue and red, and then I put some sparks on the impacts, just so you know where they're actually hitting and all that good stuff. Very simple sparks. But yeah, I think I'll place another one down here. Shield health. Shield health is pretty low, just for the sake of demonstration. I can increase that, but currently it's got 40 hits. At least I think it's 40 at the moment. So yeah, I guess I'll just show how I did it. Let's go to... Briefly, I'll show you guys the... do I have the SW ones here? Probably not. Oh, actually, no, I did have that. But anyway, here's the, you can tell lots of work was put into the into the effects. I can't say that without laughing. This is literally just a cylinder. with a little bit of projectile music, a movement collision box, and a laser mat. Same with the red one. It's a little child instance of that. And so that's all that is in that regard. Where's the, and then here's the extremely simple sparks. I already know how to use Niagara, so I put that together. Zynga. So yeah, just I only did the VFX and the programming that was necessary for the sake of audio implementation. To really put it straightforward, I wanted to do this as an audio implementation project, but turns out it was really not that hard audio implementation wise, like extremely easy. Like I know how to do it. I knew how to do it already. And that's not, I don't want to do stuff that I already know how to do. It's not a great use of my time as far as I'm concerned. So I want to do things that are challenging and things that I don't know how to do. And so this wasn't exactly that. This was a little on the easy side for me. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But I went forward, finished it off, and just showing it off to you guys. Let's there's that test cube thing, the sequence. I'm not sure what I want to. Let's just jump into the bubble shield. Screw it. Let's go straight. SW. I've got this laser shooter. It's funny. Yeah, I could just extend this however I want, and it'll put lasers there. Give it a min max delay. I made this little actor for demonstration purposes. Go into the bubble shield, and this is most of what we're doing. We do have some stuff in the. Let's go to Fatman character. Where are we? Game FPS. I just threw a little black or a little black rectangle on our character, and I allowed myself to shoot some bullets. Where are we? Oh wait, this is the so this is the shield. Dropping the shield down. Where's the? Okay, here's the laser bullets. So anyway, we got a delay of 2 seconds between when we could shoot them. So anyway, so here's me just shooting laser bullets. I threw these two things onto the character, just so you do demonstration purposes and show off the shields, obviously, and work on the shields functionality. Press F, and then so basically we press F. We got a flip flop to spawn our shield. If we're not flying, I don't want to be in midair because that's just not going to be useful. We got our line trace, and then if we get a line trace to the ground, then we'll go ahead and spawn the shield on our impact point. Other side of the flip flop is we're going to go ahead, check the bubble shield is valid. If it is, kill it. If it isn't valid, go ahead and just spawn it. Try and spawn it. That's assuming that the bubble shield breaks via laser fire or whatever, and to that extent we want to go ahead and spawn it instead of trying to destroy something that doesn't exist. And so anyway, here briefly I'm just going to put spawn. Oh, not in the comment. There we go. What the flip? I didn't know I could do that. All right, spawning bubble shield. By the way, I moved that this thing, clicking it and then using WASD, which I didn't know you could do. It's cool. All right. Okay. So anyway, it's pretty straightforward in the character. So back to our actual blueprint. So we had the what happens on event begin play is that we'll basically take our so by the way, once again, like I said, the VFX, all I was focusing on the audio implementation, and that was actually pretty simple. And so the VFX and programming, pretty straightforward, and not as dynamic as usual or pretty as usual. But that's just because I don't care. I could make all of this much better, but I don't care. There's other things I want to do, and I think this is at a state where I can just show it off and move on. So that's what I'm doing. But pretty straightforward. We have we just have a shield device. It's this cylinder. Even though I actually do have, I know you guys are gonna think I'm really lazy, but I do have the model for it. for the actual shield. I mean, you get everything off the Frosty editor, but whatever, man. I'm just kind of getting to move on. Sorry, it's not supposed to be a downer thing, but I'm just trying to move on, trying to keep going. So I think I got it to a place where I could show it off. So here you go. So shield device, literally just a cylinder, but then we base a couple things off of that. We have the visible shield, which is attached to that. Move down a little bit, and also you can see if I whip this out, it's a bit squashed because I don't think the reference I had for the bubble shield, FSW bubble shield. Let me see if I still have that reference. Yeah. So anyway, I had a like a little 10-minute video of just me messing around with the bubble shield. Honestly, like it'd be cool to make this full on, but I don't want to do all the work for that. It's ridiculous. Um, I'm not getting paid, but but I could see how I would do this because I know Niagara. I really think that it's pretty cool. We'd have to do this spline emitter in order to do some of these. And the really cool stuff is the impacts. Let me see if I can get some of these here. So this is how I figured out like how they're doing it, because I knew that you wouldn't know what's going on if you looked at it straight on. So you have to use this side view. But what you notice, what's really cool to me, is that the way that they do this in actual BF2 is that when you shoot the side of the shield, you have, and I'm talking about specifically these ripples that occur. Those ripples are not happening on the material itself, that's originally back in when I was doing the mod for the for Star Wars Incursion. That's how I thought I was going to do it, is by having ripples on the actual material. It was a little difficult to figure out how to do that, but it turns out even in Battlefront 2, I don't believe that that's what they're doing at all. I think that what they're doing is they're just spawning a distortion effect on top of the shield right where the impact point is, and of course it's facing inward and it's on the face of this shield, so you can't see it practically at all unless you get a side view of it, and you can see that the distortion mat is actually sitting just a tad bit above the actual shield, and so you can see that it is a separate effect, and that's what's really cool to me. I think that's really just cool. I like breaking down. I like figuring out how they do it, and reference is going to be the best way to do it myself, right? So anyway, the mat itself as well, like the actual shield, is very cool. The way they have the shield is basically, if you could see right here, and maybe a little bit here, basically it's completely clear. It's totally see-through. But they have, where lights are, basically reflections on the shield that show up this wavy kind of light matte as the reflections show up on it. And so this shield has like this reflective kind of thing where light will bounce off the shield and then you can see the actual textures. But unless that light is reflecting off it, it is completely clear everywhere else. And so you can kind of see that as you can see the texture moving. But anyway, it's really cool to look at the reference and see how they did that. Obviously, I didn't go that far. I don't want to go that far personally. That's a lot of work. And that's not something I particularly want to do personally. But yeah, really cool stuff. I think that the shield's super boss. So yeah, let me continue to show off the shield here. So anyway, shield, actual visible shield, does. I currently use that with the collision to block the. At least I'm pretty sure, to block the bullets. Do I have that? Yes. So I'm pretty sure I use the visible shield to block the bullets. At least that's what I'm looking at here. Actually, I'm guaranteed that because I remember that I have, here it is. Basically, I'll set the visible shield to block all except the pawns, so that characters can go through. But like hypothetically, grenades, projectiles, anything physical won't be able to get through unless it's a actual character. So it similar to BF2 itself. Back to Bubble Shield. I always keep jumping out of Bubble Shield for some reason. And then separate coal. This is for the for the SFX for entering and exiting. The visible shield. If you just touched it, right, that would be your collision, and then it would play the sounds. That's not what you want. You want it to be slightly inside of the actual collision. When you have the whole character get engulfed by the shield, is when you hear the thwomp 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 when it's when you're entering and exiting. And then I just have a simple component for the shield loop. The shield loop needs to be a component just to the extent that I need to. Unlike most sounds that are one-offs, the shield loop is a constant thing, and then it gets turned off, and then turned on at the start. And so it's something that needs to be a component so that I can reference it multiple times. So yeah, event begin play, I create the dynamic mat so that I can, of course, have the purple color change to red as the health goes down. Set the, I have this delay of 2 seconds. So before it is just the second the thing gets set down. After it is, after the sound SFX of the shield opening up, and so then that's when I have the loop play. It's when I have the hidden, the shield itself visible, become unhidden and invisible, and that's when I set this little active var to true so that all of the sound effects can also now be played once the shield is actually visible and set up, etc., etc. This is on every time the visible shield gets hit. We play a sound, and just like in BF2, which I didn't do this when I originally was making the shield for the Star Wars mod. I didn't do this originally, but this is how it works in BF2, and also this is a answer to my question back in the day of like, how the hell does this not sound horrible? And the answer is that what you have is an extremely simple impact, such as this. And you could play that as many times as you want because that is deep bass. That doesn't particularly get irritating to the ears. And so you can spam that up. And so that's what you do. Every time there's a hit or an impact, you just play that super bassy, very minimalistic little sound effect of the shield getting hit. And then the really interesting ones, such as the impact tails, you only play those every once in a while because those can get, if you played those every time a shield was hit, your ears would be so unhappy hearing that. It sounds horrible. And so the same way BF2 did it, the same way I did it here, where all you're doing is basically every time it hits, you play the normal, good, bassy, small sound, which it doesn't irritate the ears. But every time that hits, you'll basically have a random delay to play the whatchamacallit, the tail. And I kind of said that you don't have a random delay to play the tail, but the tail will play, and then it will have a delay between the next time the tail will play, so that you're not spamming the tail sound. But funny enough, what's happening is that, and I'll go throw it over here, what's happening is that you're just hearing the tail sound as often as you're able to hear it without it frustrating your ears by hearing it all the time. So that's the same way they do it in BF2. And which is always funny just to tear the curtain back and kind of look at that. So it's pretty cool. What else we got? This is, what are we looking at? So KYA shield, pretty straightforward. If health is 0, then kill the bubble shield. Kill the bubble shield, play the retract sound of the shield coming back in, and destroy the components that are necessary. Destroy the SFX collision and the invisible shield. Stop the shield loop. Give it a delay of 0.4 seconds. Then we could play our little sparks, which is the, if we open that up, it's a little deploy sparks. And once we do that, then we get a little more delay, and then we'll just destroy the actor itself. I leave the cylinder behind just for a couple extra seconds because, why not, right? I mean, in the original one, they have a little physics mesh they spawn. Yeah, who cares? I'm not doing that. All right, and this is the last part. This is the working with the dynamic mat. This is pretty janky. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure there's a way to do this without using timelines. In fact, I won't say I'm guaranteed because I don't know exactly what it is. I think I've used it before, but I honestly can't remember. So anyway, but what's going on here is that I'm basically this is kind of where some of the hard coding comes in that I was talking about, where it's not as dynamic as other things I might make in things I care about a little more. But basically, I used a timeline to simply give me a value curve as we get closer to the percentage of the shield that is destroyed. So as the health goes down, you'll notice on the shield that it doesn't immediately start turning pink. So it's not a linear curve. But as it gets really low health, then it very quickly starts to turn pink. And then very quickly kind of gets destroyed there. And so that's all a linear curve done using timelines, where I'm literally just doing some math, getting the health, and getting a value, setting the timeline in order for it to then give us a value for our dynamic matte, for our hue and our saturation before I set that. And so, yes, this is extremely janky. But it works. I know it works. And so I just decided to use that. So there you go. Granted, I probably should have gone ahead and done a little bit more research to just figure out the alternative correct. I'm assuming there's a better way to do this. I'm assuming there's the better way to do this. I would be extremely surprised if there wasn't. So surprised I wouldn't believe it. No, I think I remember it, because you can make another asset that has the curve information built into it, but man, I can't remember exactly. I'd have to look into that, guys, at some point. But there's another way to do this. If all you're thinking this is the only way, absolutely not. There's other ways to get curve information and then use that in your programming. But I was doing this pretty quick and dirty, and so I was like, I know the timelines can do that as well, so I just used the timelines. But yeah, there's definitely other ways to do that. So anyway, that's the whole shield. It's pretty straightforward. Let's jump into the meta sounds. So yeah, let's jump into the sound design, because we did everything else. VFX and all the programming is pretty. Programming is, of course, never straightforward, but who gives a crap? I mean, whatever. Moving on. Meta sounds. Let's jump into our classes. So this, you know what? Let's do the meta sounds, and then we'll jump into the attenuators. Why would we go to that first? All right, meta sounds. We are using the SW. Let's go to audio sounds. We're using the SW bubble show sound. This is all ripped off the Frosty editor. So we've got all the sound effects. We got a bunch of these. I got Leia's stuff too. I got some detonation impacts we're not using because I don't have explosives built into my character. It's all good. But yeah, all the sounds are just from BF2. We've got the assets here. We're using meta sounds. This is a cue. This was just testing some stuff. I had all the channels accidentally. One of the problems I ran into, and I guess I'll talk about, is that I on my footsteps meta sound, you can hear it as I walk around with the character. The footsteps. And so one of the problems I ran into is that back when I was first using meta sounds, I guess I didn't understand the channels aspect of meta sounds, or maybe I learned that at some other point, but for whatever reason, those original meta sounds I had didn't have the on finished attached. And so all the footsteps took up all the channels immediately, and so the my meta sounds weren't able to play, and I was like, there's no way this is a channel issue, because there's no way I would ever not use that. And then I went back and looked at the footsteps, and I didn't have it plugged in, and I was like, what the flip? Anyway, basically what happens is that audio has a certain amount of channels. I think that Unreal is able to allocate to them. I think it's got like 32. I might be wrong on that. They might have a certain number. I'm not even sure if the numbers. Not even sure if you can actually change the amount of channels that you can use. But I'm just going with 32 for now. That's a good number. Basically, that's the whole point of concurrency is that you don't want to spam up your audio channels or destroy somebody's ears, etc., etc. And so you need to. It's basically what's within the audible range of human ears. You can't have 20 different bullet sounds happening at the same or very similar time because nobody's going to be able to actually use that audio information and process that literally like brain wise. And so the concurrency is basically to bring down the processing of spawning a whole buttload of sounds, and so that you don't spawn a whole buttload of sounds that are just unnecessary to spawn because people can't tell the dang difference. Anyway, so I had a channel issue. My sounds weren't playing. I didn't know what was going on, and then I didn't believe I would make that mistake, and I went back and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So anyway, have your on finishes done, your meta sound, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do that. Gotta keep those channels free. All right, meta sounds are as straightforward as you can possibly get. Wave player, stereo output, on finish, like I just said. Get random, get your array, throw in your sounds, and on play, get your random. There you go. Source, so this is basically literally every single meta sound except for the loop. The shield loop is it's just a loop. I just turn it on, tilt the loop. That's it. All right. On to the let's go to the attenuations. Those is just as simple. Gosh dang it! I hate that it brings that up in a new window. Just bring it up in that. Okay, attenuations, super straightforward. These are as simple as you can get. I literally only have a few of them because I use the same one on most of them. It's just this one, but I'm using natural sound. It's just better fall off. Honestly, I like it. Linear's all right, and logarithmic's nice, but natural sound's a little cuter. I've got a big inner area. It kind of encompasses most of the shield, except for the portion that's really close to the outer area. And then I have a pretty good fall off, so you can hear it for a while. Speaking of our SW reference, the interesting thing about the sound is as you enter and exit the shield, as you do anything actually involving the shield, basically, what's happening is that they're actually spawning the sound at the. Let me see. Do I have a shot of this? I'm just always looking at nothing versus the shield itself. But what's going on is they're spawning the sound right here. And so you can hear that as you go to the edges. You'll be able to hear it using spatialization. You can hear the sound coming from the center of the shield. It's not like this. They're not encompassing the entire shield with their attenuation quotation. Using my finger quotation, somebody could see it. But they're not encompassing the entire inner of the shield. It's actually just this part here. Well, it is spawning from right here, so you can hear that as you move around the shield, and you'll hear it. I have, in some scenarios, I have a certain radius that is, like I said, for the where are we? For the attenuation here, this one's got a radius about the size of this collision on the inside, you can see. But then I have some others, like the shield loop, which are much, much smaller on the inside, so you can actually hear the attenuation. It just sounds a little more like it's actually coming from the center where this device is versus just kind of generally the actual shieldy energy field itself. So anyway, that's the attenuation, pretty straightforward. Classes. So this is interesting. I made a class for like every meta sound. With hindsight, I wouldn't have done this. It really doesn't make much of a difference. Actually, it doesn't make any difference at all, aside from the fact that it's a little more work to make a separate asset, that being a class for every single meta sound. It's just unnecessary. What you'd really do is just edit the meta, because the meta sounds themselves have these settings. I'm aware of this. I was aware of this. I don't think I cared enough to think about it very much. But the meta sounds themselves have these settings, and so what you'd really do is just edit the meta sounds themselves, assuming, of course, that all your file sounds that you export and all the sound design you do have the same decibels themselves and the same volume, which they should. So that's generally a good assumption. So I did the same assumption with BF2, and not like I don't check them. I did check them, but they definitely have all the same. They're the same volume. Whoever did the sound design work for Star Wars was very, very good at their jobs. So anyway, with that in mind, you could just do all the kind of manipulation of the volume and pitch and all that stuff inside of the meta sound, and then you just have one master class for all the meta sounds involving the bubble shield that you could then just turn up and down that volume with the meta sounds being mixed themselves. So that's the way I would do it in the future, obviously, and that's just the better way to do it, in my opinion. There's no reason to make it a separate asset for every single meta sound, but I did it here. Once again, just because I don't think I was thinking about it very much. I don't think I cared too much, but it all works just fine. So anyway, this is where I was mixing it mostly. It's changing the volumes, etc., to make it sound good. So impact hits, all these things. Star Wars, the sounds are rather loud, which is good. You want to have them at good volume, so you can mix them later. But so yeah, most of these are brought down a lot, and yeah, and they all plug into a master that I can change. So that's all I did with the sound classes. There's nothing particularly interesting. Just add all your classes to your master, and yeah, call it a day. I realized I don't think I did a passive sound mix for the inside of the shield, which maybe yeah, I think I forgot about that. not the hardest thing, but if we go inside here.
Shield powered up.
One of the things that I think is interesting is it is definitely hard to tell exactly as to what they're allowing to be allowed and what they're leaving normal volume inside of the shield. I imagine you could pretty quickly do a an audio volume type thing for the shield and go ahead and call it a day and have everything outside of it muffled. But I'm not going to do that here because I imagine that's going to be like 20 minutes or something to just make sure that it works perfectly and all the troubleshooting involved with doing all that stuff. But yeah, I imagine you could use an audio volume and attach it to this and have that work pretty well. As well, I'm not sure if with the reference I have at the BF2, if whether they have the volume of everything else on the outside and just have that muffled, or whether they bring down the frequency, etc., or whether they have the volume of everything kind of just brought down a bit. It's a bit hard to tell. But yeah, you just have to make sure to watch BF. Yeah, if you wanted to replicate BF2, right? Go ahead and get reference from the BF2 shield, right? Inevitably. Yeah, I do kind of wish I did that a little bit, but oh, I remember why I don't think I did that is because presently there's a the bullets on the outside work fine. Bullets on the inside, there's a they're not working too well. I think there's a collision issue presently with just firing projectiles inside of the blocking volume. But once again, not to hammer home the point, but this is as good as I want to get it. All the audio is more or less where I want it. I don't think that the volume would be particularly difficult. I think that the difficult part would just be, once again, figuring out how I would do the collision with the bullets, and I'm not really interested in doing more programming stuff in that regard. So, not to hammer home the point too much, but that's where I'm at. I don't want to do more programming work with this, and it's at a decent state, so I'm showing it off. So I think that's everything. Let me just briefly check around here, but I think that's everything. I guess I'll just play around with it a little bit so you guys can see it one last time. But yeah, basically it. I could turn up the I could turn this up. 3, we'll do 0, 0.5. You get a lot of lasers firing. Anyway. Yeah. Huh. Wonder how I placed this one down. That's weird. Anyway. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you liked the video. Hope it's pretty straightforward. One thing I will say, video's over, but I'm just gonna say one quick rant. In Battlefront 2, which I play a little bit too much of, and probably need to stop playing that. Battlefront 2, these actual shields are so freaking useless. I have so many complaints about Battlefront 2. But anyway. Alright. See you guys later. Hope you liked the video, and I appreciate you all for watching. Y'all are steely-eyed missile men and women.